Welcome to the Easy VC Brief, where we break down the week's most important venture capital and deep tech news in just 5 minutes. I call it the espresso shot of venture capital. I'm Max von Polnitz, Managing Director at Ajinomoto Group Ventures. Let's dive into this week's stories. I just got back home from JPM Healthcare Conference, day 3. Figured it was a good time to record the pod from my wife's office. It's quite dark outside, but I wanted to get this in. If you've never experienced JPM, imagine speed dating meets Shark Tank meets a marathon, all fueled by oddly decent Starbucks coffee and the desperate hope you'll find self-service in the lobby. This year, AI was more mainstream, and the big tech giants are here, and they're not just attending, they're making moves. For story one, let's dive into Anthropic's announcement at JPM. They're entering healthcare and life sciences in a massive way. They're connecting Claude, their AI, to over 50,000 health systems via HealthyX, integrating with Apple Health and Android Health, and giving providers access to CMS and much more. They're already working with AstraZeneca, Sanofi, and Banner Health. And they're not alone. NVIDIA, Microsoft, OpenAI, and other tech giants are all making healthcare AI plays. What we're seeing is a fundamental shift. These companies want direct access to patient data and clinical workflows. The promise is powerful. AI that can answer questions grounded in your actual health history, automate prior authorizations that waste millions of clinician hours, and ultimately potentially accelerate drug discovery. That's the bet Anthropic is making, that consumers will trust them with their health data if it delivers real value. But here's what this means for venture investors. When NVIDIA, Anthropic, and Microsoft enter a space, they don't just compete. They reshape the entire landscape. For startups, you either need to be hyper-specialized in a niche these giants won't touch, or you need to position yourself as an acquisition target. The days of building a horizontal healthcare AI platform as a venture-backed startup, those might be over. The big players have the data partnerships, the compute infrastructure, and the distribution that startups simply cannot match. If you're investing in healthcare AI right now, you need to ask yourself, is this defensible against big tech? The venture opportunities are narrowing, and I think they're sticking to the niche. Story 2. The US government just released updated dietary guidelines, and they're finally emphasizing whole food protein sources while pulling back on added sugars. This isn't just nutrition policy, it's a massive market signal for food innovation. The good timing? Because Impossible Foods CEO just announced a revenue-sharing partnership to scale Equii, a protein flour business that yours truly was an executive advisor for over 2 years. And here's why this is brilliant. Putting protein into staples, bread, pasta, baked goods, is one of the smartest distribution strategies in food tech. Consumers aren't going to radically overhaul their diets. They're not eating another protein bar or drinking another chalky shake. But if you can fortify the foods they already love with better nutrition, you've solved the adoption problem. Equi's plant-based protein flour is shelf-stable, scalable, and fits seamlessly into existing CPG manufacturing. The dietary guidelines are catching up to what innovators already knew. Protein density matters, and delivery method is everything. We don't need more specialty products. We need better everyday products. Embedding functional nutrition into staples is the future of food, and this partnership validates that thesis completely. Story 3. Andreessen Horowitz just announced that they raised $15 billion across 5 funds in 2025. That number is staggering. For A16Z to generate venture returns on $15 billion, they need to turn that into over $50 billion in value. Think about that for a second. You need to believe that the AI transformation will continue to touch every single sector: healthcare, finance, manufacturing, defense, and that private companies can reach $100 billion valuations across these verticals before going public or getting acquired. That's the bet. Venture math at this scale requires some absolutely crazy assumptions about the future. And A16Z isn't alone. The top 10 venture firms raised over 50% of all venture capital funding in 2025. We're watching massive capital concentration at the top while mid-tier firms struggle to close even modest vehicles. So what does this mean? First, if you're a startup raising a Series A or B, you're increasingly dealing with these mega funds. Competition for those deals will be brutal, and valuations at the high end, I think, will stay elevated while everyone else fights for some scraps. These firms need to write massive checks into companies they believe can become billion, not even $100 billion outcomes, which means it's you're not swinging for those fences. You might not be in their strike zone. Second, for smaller VCs and emerging managers, differentiation is now survival. You can't compete on check size anymore. So you better compete on deep sector expertise, proprietary deal flow, or genuine operation value add. And here's where I think the landscape gets interesting. Corporate venture capital investors are going to become even more critical partners in this new environment. CVCs bring something mega funds can't easily replicate: strategic value beyond capital. We're talking direct access to distribution channels, technical validation from industry leaders, and go-to-market acceleration that can make or break a startup's trajectory. As the venture industry bifurcates between mega funds and specialized players, I think CVCs will increasingly be the bridge, providing strategic validation, market access, and corporate partnerships. In summary, there will be mega funds writing $50 million checks, betting on $100 billion outcomes. There will be hyper-specialized niche funds, and there will be strategic CVCs providing differentiated value. That's it for this week's Easy VC Brief. In conclusion of our three stories, big tech is reshaping healthcare AI, protein innovation is meeting policy, and venture capital's evolving power structure with some wild assumptions baked in. If you found this useful, share it with a friend. I'm Max. I'll see you next week, hopefully back in my office and fewer tech giants trying to disrupt our portfolio. As always, keep building.